And one night I had a vision. And I saw a little boy. He was about 5 years old. Handsome beyond measure. And he told me that I was his father. I said, well, if I'm your father, then when are you going to come on earth and be my son? So I'm your father. Are you coming down to earth and be my son? He said, yes. I said, when? He said, on the 10th of November. I said, you are? Now this is late September. So I said to my wife the next morning, I said, darling, you know you're going to have a baby on the 10th of November. Well, she said, I really believe all that you teach, but after all, this is ridiculous. I'm not even pregnant. This is late September. I'm going to have a son on the 10th of November. She said, no, that is out. I said, all right, that's what he told me anyway. That night in New York City at my lecture, this lady appeared. Her little boy was 2½, and she was way out in hell. She looked as though she could have it right then. So I said to her, when do you expect your son? She said, no son. I'm going to have a daughter. Joseph and I, we want a daughter. Don't want any son, we have our son. I said, but when do you expect your child then? She said, oh, the doctor said around early January. I said, should your son be born on the 10th of November, may I tell you his name? His name is Neville Mark, because that's what he told me. She was determined she is not going to have a son, going to have a daughter. I said, all right, if it's a boy, his name is Neville Mark. Well, on the 10th of November, she had her little boy, and she called him Neville Mark. Well, I haven't seen Neville in 4 years. Last time I saw him, he came down and spent 3 weeks with us in Barbados. And he was a handsome, handsome lad, long hair down below his shoulder, but unusually pretty. She tells me now he's about 6 feet, even more stunning. He's just had his 18th birthday. He does all the cooking for them. Now, they don't need any help, because they have all the money in the world. He does all the cooking. He does all the washing, all the ironing, all the sewing. He does everything. So she got her wish. She got a girl, and I got my son. He was a son. He makes the dresses. Of course, his father's a couturier. He's going to inherit that fabulous thing. The father's 77. So, in the not distant future, he will inherit this enormous thing. But he loves sewing, and he loves ironing the clothes. He likes all these things. He's out going to school to study designing and making of clothes and all these things. And so, with his long hair and that lovely, lovely skin of his, and undoubtedly, she does have her daughter. And I have in him my son. So see, we both got it. And she said to me, do you remember anything in the past concerning Neville? Because you saw him before I did. I said, I can only tell you that he came to me, this handsome, handsome lad, about 5 years old. And he told me that I was his father. Well, you know, Louise, I have never known you physically. Therefore, physically, I am certainly not his father. But throughout infinity, these cross currents, who knows the relationship in all these things through eternity? He called me his father. At the moment, I wondered, well, when are you going to come? Because I knew this was a vision. And I knew he was not my son in this world. I knew my little girl, Vicky, when she came to me at the age of 4 or 5. And she too called me Daddy. And I said, if you are my daughter, if I'm your daddy, then what is your name? And she said, Victoria. And Simpson danced away. So when she was born, I called her Victoria. She has no middle name. She didn't give me a middle name. She said, my name is Victoria. So I called her Victoria. Now she's known to all as Vicky. But she has no middle name. I saw her so vividly when she appeared to me when she was my wife was then about 5 months pregnant. And I said to her, we're going to have a little girl. And her name is Victoria. Well, she came into the world, and she looked just unlike the little girl I saw. But at 4, she grew into that child. Because when she was born, she looked just like Gandhi. Not a hair on her head, bad ears, just like a little offspring of Gandhi. At the age of 4, a mass of curls. She was the image of the child I saw when she appeared to me in vision, say about 4 or 5 years of age. And this lad, when he was 4 or 5, was just like it. This handsome, beautiful lad. And today they say he's just, well, a raving beauty. 6 feet tall, 18 years old, with his long hair. And he makes his dresses, does all the ironing, he sews, he does everything. And so Louise, at determination, it didn't come in a physical form as a daughter, but it came in spirit as a daughter. And my vision was true. It came in as a boy, as I saw him, and he told me his name was Neville Mark. And so he is named Neville Mark. Goes by the name of Neville. So I'm telling you of the power within you. And that power is your own wonderful human imagination. And that is the only God in the world. There is no other God. So tonight, take it seriously. If you really have an objective in this world, and you're waiting for something to happen on the outside to make it so, forget it. Do it in your own wonderful human imagination. Actually bring it into being in your own imagination. Conjure a scene which would imply the fulfillment of that dream. And lose yourself in the act as you contemplate it. And completely lose yourself in that state. If you're completely absorbed in it, you would objectify it and you would see it seemingly independent of your perception of it. But even if you do not have that intensity, if you lose yourself in it and feel it to be true, the imaginal act, then drop it. In a way you do not know, it will become true. It will objectify itself on the screen of space. And what the world calls reality, which is really only a shadow world, that all things exist in the human imagination. And that all that you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your own wonderful human imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. And all this objective reality is solely produced through imagining. I don't care what it is. This room here, it first was imagined. The clothes you're wearing, that was all imagined. Imagining preceded the thing that you now call real in the world. But man does not know it, and his memory is so short, he forgets the imaginal act, and then the harvest, which one day he will reap. And when he's confronted with the harvest, he can't relate it to anything he ever did that could produce it. And yet everything that comes into his world, he did it. But he doesn't remember. His memory is faulty. One day he will awaken. And when he awakens, he is the King of Kings. He is the Lord of Lords.